call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. We'll stand for the pledge, and Ms. Diane will start it for us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Karen?
Second.
Dick? All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes from August 15th.
So moved.
Karen?
Second.
Dick? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And that would be me, and Greg should be abstaining from that vote. Thank you. So I'm going to turn it right over to you, Mr. Reed. We're going to start the presentations. If you would like to start, thank you.
So yeah, Mr. Keene, who's our band director, was going to originally bring some field trips for music to you guys, but Mr. Keene has his own open house tonight for his children. So Mr. Vigliotti, who's also a musician himself, is going to talk about 3 trips for the band this year. Mr. Vigliotti?
So I'm gonna do the best I can here. I didn't have my black shirt was in the wash, so it's my best Keene impression. Okay, so I'm here to talk briefly about the music field trips for this year. So the Terryville High School Music Department is requesting approval for the following 3 out-of-state field trips. The first trip is to the Big E, where the Terryville High School Marching Band and Color Guard would perform at the Eastern States Exposition in West Springfield, Massachusetts. The performance is scheduled for Friday, September 28th, 2018. All chaperones will be screened and pre-approved by the THS administration. Transportation funding has been budgeted, and students will purchase their own meals. Students will depart THS in the morning and will return from this trip at 8 o'clock p.m.
Any questions about that field trip? Okay.
Okay. The second out-of-state field trip is an event called Umass Band Day, scheduled for November 10th, 2018. The Marching Band and Color Guard would travel to Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, to perform a unique halftime show alongside one of the best college marching bands anywhere. Transportation funding has been budgeted, and meals will be provided by the THS Friends of Music Association. Students will depart at 7 o'clock a.m. to rehearse for several hours before kickoff. The estimated time of return for this trip is 10 o'clock p.m.
Any questions, comments? Okay.
Okay. The third and final out-of-state trip is to Hershey, Pennsylvania, for a 3-day trip, April 12th through 14th, 2019. The cost is approximately $580 per student before fundraising credits. This trip is all-inclusive and includes transportation, 2 nights hotel, event tickets, meals, and will feature a special public performance at Hershey Park by our outstanding ensembles. The trip is offered through Destinations Unlimited, who will comp 4 chaperones for this trip, and first priority for these comp chaperones will go to any required chaperones, and Friends of Music will cover the cost of any additional necessary chaperones. All chaperones, like for all trips, will be screened and pre-approved by the THS administration.
Any questions or comments? I just want you guys to be aware that this is the Friday before vacation that they're going, just so you know that, all right? So they'd only be missing 1 day. All right, so I'm going to ask for a motion to approve all of them together if there's no... Oh, okay, Dick. Second?
Second.
Cindy? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Thank you for presenting for Mr. Keene.
Thank you.
interesting.
Yeah. You want to do it or you want to hold it off?
Yeah, so we find ourselves in a little bit of a predicament because Ms. Parsons, who's at her own child's,
You told her 7:15.
I thought we're moving pretty quick tonight, so,
I was supposed to stall. Sorry.
You're not good at it.
Well, I mean, we can pass over hers and do it after.
yeah, we could do that. So
Yeah.
what, if we don't mind, we were on presenting the new teachers
I know.
after Jen's presentation. So we could do that next, because it's all just under presentations, because all the principals are here to introduce their staff, and then I would anticipate Jen will be here. So if you don't know that. So my opening remarks is we've been very successful with hiring really quality staff over the past few years, and this year was no exception. And it's great because we invite them here. They get a chance to meet the board members. You don't often always have a chance for staff members to meet with board members. So it's a good way to kind of connect faces with board members. So we're just going to start with the high school, who actually had the most new hires this year, and Mr. Vigliotti is going to be taking that role. You have another chance now. But what I would ask is that when Mr. Vigliotti's presenting the first person, if the first person would just kind of stand near Vigliotti, and once everyone's been introduced, we'll come up and we'll take a picture.
Yep.
Or it might be a little bit more complicated. Perhaps at the recess, we'll take the picture.
Okay.
So, but we'll start with Mr. Vigliotti.
Thank you, Dr. Semmel, and board members, and everyone, all of the other guests here tonight. It's my pleasure to be here, and not just to talk about the band field trips, but to present the 3 newest members of our team at THS. So first up, we have our new member of the math department, Mrs. Samantha Sam Chason, who comes to us after spending her first few years teaching at Chippewa Valley, and who is very excited to have the opportunity to teach math at the high school level. So we're happy to have her. Our new district library specialist, Mr. Wayne Prescott, my long-lost brother, who brings... That's what the students, I think, seem to think. Yes. We're
right up on
looking anxiously forward to Twin Day during Spirit Week, so don't skip that one. He brings 25 years of education experience to our school community, and he has spent the bulk of his career thus far at Litchfield High School, but most recently in Region 6, where he worked for the past 4 years as a library media specialist, working with all grade levels. So he's going to be doing work not just here at Terryville High School, but throughout the district, leading our efforts in our libraries in all our schools. And last but not least is our new technology teacher, Mr. Russ Fuller, who brings a wealth of experience to Terryville High School based on his previous 16 years instructing a number of construction and firefighting classes at Berlin High School, as well as an impressive 46 years as an active firefighter. So we've had a lot of conversations with Russ, a lot of opportunities over the summer as he's gotten in the room and made it his own. And we're really excited to have him, along with Wayne and Sam as well. They're all off to a great start, and we're really looking forward to their future contributions to the community here. So,
Great. Thank you.
And now Miss Suffrage from the middle school is going to introduce all of her new staff.
All of mine. I got all of them right here. Trying to help Jen out a little bit.
Oh, she's here.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. We can see
All
behind
right, so I can give you the short version. All right, so Eli Terry welcomes. And this is Becky Lyman. Becky is our special education teacher. She has dedicated the last 8 years to working with students with emotional and behavioral needs. Becky spent the last 3 years at the Grace Webb School, where she serviced students in kindergarten through 3rd grade in a self-contained classroom. And she's doing a great job, and I'm very pleased. So, Becky.
Excellent. And last but not least, Crystal Collins from Plymouth Center School, and all of her staff.
Good evening. The face that I'm going to present to you may look familiar. This is Sarah Trudeau. Sarah is a resident of our community, and her children actually went through Plymouth Center School and the rest of the Plymouth schools. She worked at the Family Resource Center pre-K program for a number of years, then decided to go back and get certified. So she left us for 1 year to go to the New Britain schools, and we stole her back for our inclusive pre-K program, and we're so glad to have her with us again. So this is Sarah Trudeau.
Excellent. So Jen's here, so. Yeah. So I think what we should do is we'll have Ms. Parsons do the presentation, which is the Smarter Balance presentation, just so we can stay within our agenda. And then after she's done, you'll take a recess. And then we can actually get more interaction. So that way we can connect with everybody. All right. All right, Ms. Parsons, look.
Not putting you on the spot or anything.
Give me a moment. Sorry, when my two full collide, parenting and working, sometimes it's a little difficult, but I appreciate your patience so I could sneak into my own kids' open house. So I'm here to present to you on the Smarter Balance assessment results from last year, which is the 2017-18 school year. The beginning of this presentation is very similar. It has a lot of background information in terms of the assessment itself. So the Smarter Balanced assessment package that we have is both a legal requirement and it's our responsibility. It's legal responsibility and it's an equity responsibility. So what we do within the public education system is try to make sure we have the same yardstick with which we're holding all districts. So why do we do it and what can we do with the information that we gain? We're able to accurately describe student achievement and growth. The growth piece is new for us. They have really accurate ways to measure growth over time. And now that we've had the assessment for this is our 4th administration, we're able to compare individual students, how they progress through the grades. It's valid, reliable, and fair because it's been vetted by all of the research associations, and it's an annual snapshot of student achievement. It is not a sole measure of student growth. We can't look at one test score and say, this is, my child is not meeting. We really need to put all of those sources together, and what we do is we triangulate data at the school level, and we look at how they're doing on formal and informal measures of assessment, and this is one key piece. It shows really how they act on one event and the culmination of all their skills. One of the things that's a little bit different with Smarter Balance as opposed to some of our previous state assessments is that you really can't teach to the test here. Prior with our CMT, we were able to really figure out the formula and how to sort of train children to read the formula and respond. We're not able to do that with Smarter Balanced. It's a computer adaptive test, and so children can't predict what questions they will get. So like I mentioned, we don't use it to substitute things like teacher observation, classroom assessment, universal screenings, and progress monitoring over time. The summative assessment through Smarter Balance is aligned to the Connecticut core standards. It's administered in the last 12 weeks of school, so that's usually between the end of March and the end of May. Our schools choose usually to give it after April vacation. So the last week of April into the first few weeks of May is when we're trying to do the bulk of the testing. It's dynamic and adaptive, and it is a major undertaking by many states. It's not just Connecticut that is taking this test. It is about half of the states in the United States are taking this test. Other states chose to take the other assessment, which is it's called PARC. So questions, like I mentioned, are computer adaptive. So if a child starts off and the questions are too hard, the system reads that and drops them down to easier questions to try to get a good read on what's just right for the student. In the same vein, it can also get much harder if a child is doing well with the questions. In math, there's a performance task, and this is really beyond the computer adaptive piece is short answer, multiple choice. Sometimes it includes like drop and drag and interactive items, but the performance task on math is really one problem that's set forth to students with multiple parts that they have to carry through. So the scores that we get are called scale scores, and if you think about them like a ruler, it's a continuous scale from 2,000 to 3,000. And that scale builds over time. So each grade has a different starting point on that scale, and the units are equally spread out so you can watch the change in growth. From those scale scores, we break them into clusters. And we say from a certain scale score to a certain scale score. So for example, maybe from 2040 to 2096 might be a level 2, which is approaching. So we take the scores that can come out in a grade and we break them into clusters. The achievement level is less precise than the scaled score, but it gives context to the score so that you're able to come up with a comparison of how your child is doing to everybody who took the assessment. So starting this Friday, score reports will be coming home to parents, especially in grades. If your child was in grade 3 through 7 last year, the state has asked us to hold the grade 8 reports for right now. But if your child was in grade 3 through 7, the score reports will be mailed out this Friday. So you might receive them over the weekend and to the beginning of next week. So what you'll see when you look at those is that you'll get the scale score, you'll get the achievement level, but you'll also get these claims. And there will be additional information on reading, listening, writing and research, and then in the various areas of math. And you'll see that it might show you that check mark that your child is above standard. It might show you the equal sign that they're at or near, or there's another symbol that will show you that they were below standard in that area. It takes the general category of English language arts and starts to break it down so that you can see strengths and weaknesses within that area. There's lots of ways that we look at data. One of the things we look at is achievement change, and that's what we call year over year. How the third graders did in third grade, how did last year's third graders do in third grade, and then we look at those, we look for trends over time. You can also look for rough cohort, so that's following one group of students over time. So how did this year's fifth graders do? How did they do last year in fourth grade and the year before in third grade? So that's the same group of children. It's a rough cohort because we have movement. We have children who come in and out of our schools. And so if we only look at the students who have been here each year, that's called a matched cohort. So that's another way that we look at data. So now I'll get into our actual scores from last year. What you could see on this slide, if you were able to see the numbers up close, this entire presentation will be posted on our website as well, so you can go back through and dive into the data as well. So what you would see is that the state of Connecticut average meeting or exceeding, so we call that a level 3 or 4. Their percentages in English language arts and math were 55.3 and 46.7%, and ours were 52% and 53.6%. So we're right at or above the overall percentages for the state. You'll see overall that our overall reading score is within a couple points of where we were last year, and our math has grown by several percentages. This chart breaks it down year over year, so from 15-16, 16-17 to 17-18, how we did at each of our schools in ELA and math. And although we went down just a point or two overall this year in ELA, you can see it really is sort of focused in our middle school language arts scores. There's a few reasons why we think that might be happening that I'll share with you as we move forward. But other than that specific area, you can see our math scores year over year in the middle school are growing, and our ELA and our math scores year over year are growing in each of the other two schools as well. One of the things we wanted to emphasize is that last year, we've been bringing the workshop model up through from kindergarten up through fifth grade. Last year, that was only in sixth grade at the middle school, and our middle school class sizes were pretty large in sixth grade, and we had some shift in staff. We were actually required, if you remember, to cut 3 literacy coaches last year, and one of them was a full-time literacy coach at the middle school, so we're wondering if that could be some of the effects that we're seeing there as well. So this is a slide that Dr. Semmel presented in his budget presentation last year, and we just wanted to bring it up as a reminder that the red bar in the middle is the average per pupil expenditure of all of the towns in our DERG, which is our demographic reference group. And so if the state median is right in the middle there, we're the blue bar over to the right. We come in Plymouth spending over $2,500 less than the state median per child. So if you multiply that times the number of students in our district, I believe that puts us about $3 million under what the average state school system spends. So it's just a reminder, especially as we go forward looking at the other towns that we're comparing ourselves to, that we are spending much less per pupil than some of these other towns are, and we're still hanging right with them or exceeding them at times with scores. So this is a familiar chart. We're adding bars and columns to it, and pretty soon it's going to fall off the page. But what this chart shows you is for English language arts at each individual grade level, the score, each individual grade level is going down the column, and across is going the years for the percentage of students hitting proficiency and then the average vertical scale score. So when I was talking about that year over year, that's reading it right across the row. When I talk about cohort, that's following the color sort of in the staircase down the chart. So what you can see here is that overall our kids come in pretty strong, with a strong foundation in grade 3, with anywhere between 55 and 60 plus percentage of them at proficiency in 3rd grade, which is our baseline, and they continue to grow over time. One particular bright spot in this is if you look at our 5th grade, it's at 73.3%. Almost 75, almost 3/4 of our students were already hitting proficiency in the 5th grade. One of the things that happened in 5th grade this year is that we embedded into the curriculum a unit that takes what students have learned all year in Reader's Workshop and translates it to how to apply those skills in a test genre. So we took some materials from Teachers College, which is our partner in the workshop project, and we used those materials, and we found that it really prepared our students well to take that test. So we're going to translate that unit across 3-8 this year. And again, it's not teaching to the test, but it's taking what you've done and introducing them to key vocabulary that they will see so they can make connections across what they've been working towards and what will be presented to them. You can see with the vertical scale scores on the right-hand side that sometimes even when a percentage doesn't grow all that much, so for example, the tan staircase bars from 3rd to 4th last year, you'll see they went from 62% proficient to 64.3. They're still growing in their vertical scale score, so they went from a 2454 to a 2501. So that continuous ruler, they're still really making a lot of growth on that ruler, even though the overall percentage doesn't look like it's growing that much. So math, our math scores overall went up about 3.2%, so 3.2 percentage points more of our students were proficient this year than they were last year. And you'll see again that strong foundation coming in. And how we're trying to carry that over time. A particular bright spot here is our 7th grade math continues to be a strong point. You can see going across each year, 7th grade is getting a little bit stronger, but also following those bars down, 7th grade is showing some gains. So again, we're adding bars. Next year I'll probably have to drop one. But you can see in 17-18 we continue to be, this is our DERG or demographic reference group. Other towns that when this system was created quite a few years back now were similar in income and based on census data to Plymouth. So you'll see that we dropped a few ranks here with our DERG comparison with ELA, but we're within 1.5 points of our percentage. It just happens that we got leapfrogged once or twice. But we're still really hanging up there in the DERG. With math, we are higher within the DIRG. We fell 5th last year. We're 6th this year, but we're still within a percentage point of where we had been. When we look at our surrounding towns, again, the towns that surround us tend to be in higher, or I guess you could say more affluent demographic reference groups than we are in. You can see that we continue to be right there with those towns as well, even though their funding as well is higher than ours is in many cases. And with math, we're still right there in the middle of the pack. One of the things that we're finding is that when we make such great growth on one year, it's a little bit harder to maintain that over time. So we're really trying to figure out where are those key leverage points where we can continue to stick with things that have been working for us so that we can continue to see that growth. One of the things that we really like to do is we like to look at magnet schools because some of our students that reside in Plymouth do go out to magnet schools, and so we like to see how we're comparing to some of the schools that draw our students. And you can see Plymouth Center highly outperforms the other elementary magnet schools that draws many of our children, and Fisher also outperforms or is very close in ELA and outperforms in math the other two magnet schools that recruit many of our children. When it comes to the middle school, you can see that, again, math continues to be much stronger, and ELA is similar or perhaps just a little bit lower than the middle school that draws many of our students. But again, being an arts school, you might think that ELA would really be a strength of students who might be attending there. So what does all of this mean? What are the data highlights? We've had really great continued growth in math. Our ELA dropped just a little bit this year, but we're still holding pretty steady. That grade 5 cohort in ELA is a shining star. And our foundation, the way that we're preparing our students, even though we don't look at kindergarten, first grade, second grade data with this particular assessment, our foundation, what we see is that the scores in third grade show us they have a strong foundation coming up through those grades. And we also see that our elementary schools are outperforming other area choice schools. So we like to celebrate our victories, but we also like to think about what can we do better. So what are our next steps in curriculum and instruction? We really want to work on supporting our transitions from 5th to 6th and 7th to 8th and trying to figure out why sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to maintain high levels of achievement in those grades. And then we're going to continue to refine our workshop model at the elementary schools and at the middle school now. So now that we're familiar with the curriculum model, how can we continue to really fine-tune that and customize it to our students and our needs and our data? Speaking of data, we have our new data system, EduClimber, and we're really going to be using that carefully to monitor student progress. Having this data system will allow us to manipulate data in ways that we have not been able to. We're able to make a couple clicks and look at an entire grade level and say, how are the females doing compared to the males? How are our high needs doing compared to our non-high needs students? And really start to focus in on individual students to continue the growth forward. And we do need to look at our budget for next year. We had some significant cuts last year that we were able to make when forced, but we are seeing now that potentially be to continue back in to support our children. That's all I have for you. Is there any questions for me?
Any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to call a motion for recess at 7:29. We'll do about 10 minutes.
So moved.
Karen? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we're at recess. Could we all go in the front, including the girls? And we would like a picture with all the new staff, too. I'd like to entertain a motion to come back into regular session at 7:40. Dick?
Second.
Karen, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Moving on to our superintendent's update.
All right, so update. We had definitely had, I'll start by saying we had a wild beginning to the year with the summer heat.
Yeah.
A lot of school districts in Connecticut were struggling with heat this year, especially with buildings that were not air conditioned. So we had a half day on our first day, which actually didn't work out too bad because getting the kids back into school, half days really aren't terrible. I don't like doing a lot of half days. I prefer the full day for sure, make sure we get as much time with our students as possible. We're able to do full days except to by Thursday, the buildings, especially at the elementary school, were just hot and humid. Jim Mazon, our facilities director, was going out and we actually have a computer system where we could actually check the temperatures in every building, in lots of rooms, just about all the rooms. So we were getting temperature checks at 7:30 in the morning, then 10:30, then 12:30, then 2:30. So we have like all kinds of data paying attention to that. Principals did a fabulous job moving students around. Parents did a great job making sure their kids were bringing in water. By Wednesday, though, there was starting to be just a few more issues. Nurses hadn't seen anybody really up through Tuesday, but by Wednesday, I don't know if it was the effect of just all that heat and humidity for 3-4 days that maybe started dehydrating some kids, but we started seeing a few more students go to our nurse's office. But I was in direct contact with Miss Giannini, who's in charge of our nurses, and we both agreed that we thought Thursday made a lot of sense just to call that as a half day, like a lot of other districts did too. So anyways, I just wanted to give you an update on that. And then I also want to say that though now I'm going into all the buildings, teachers and students are completely on track. You know, they've developed the relationships. You know, you can probably ask the high school folks here too. They're probably right in the thick of things and can't even remember that summer vacation that they used to have maybe just a couple weeks ago. So
Sadly, yeah.
because they probably all have some homework to do tonight. And,
Oh, yeah. That's what I've been talking about.
yeah. So we're right back in the thick of things. And then I did want to ask Ms. Trinks to give you a quick update on special education and some news around that as well.
Exactly. Last month, I was able to report to you that we had passed a desk audit that is done once every 3 years. And actually, when I started, we had a little bit of issue right before I started. And so one of my first tasks was to make sure all of that was back in compliance and we were where we needed to be at the state. And so I reported on that last month. Connected to that is this month, where every year they do what's called an annual performance report. Annual performance report is actually the title of it. I'm thinking I know that's what it is, and I wasn't sure if it was the title. Where they're looking at 8 specific items, and all relating to compliance, timely and accurate data. So I want to report that we have met requirements on the state for that also. And I think that's from the hard work that my department has been able to do, but also in collaboration with the tech department, because a lot of the data flows through them also. So just happy to report that.
Yeah, it's excellent news, and it's the way we want to make sure it keeps happening. But there are 8 data points, and you got to be compliant on every one.
And 100%. They don't accept 99 on any of them.
Yeah, so it's very important for us to keep working in that direction. And that's the end of my report.
Okay, before we go on to comments or questions from this report, I just want to remind everybody on the board that when I ask for comments or questions, please limit it to the subject matter that we have just discussed. So any comments or questions? Okay, moving on. So we're going to start with our students. So we have 2 new students on the board. So I'm going to introduce them, and then I'll get right into Diana. So we have Diana Ramo back. So she's our senior board member. And then we have Taylor Greenwood. She's a junior, right?
Yep.
And then Devin, she's also a senior.
Yes.
And Gert, right?
Yes.
So these are going to be for the next full year. They will be our reporting for our board. And then at any time, you will find that Diana likes to talk, so you guys are welcome to ask questions. I like that you guys will ask questions. But we're going to start with Diana.
Okay, so as she said, I'm Diana. I was here last year, but I am a senior, and I do a little bit of everything. So yeah, I talk a lot because I have my feet in a little bit everything. So we're on our 3rd and finally our full week of school. not, kind of wish we were still on the beach right now, but we're here. And it's going great. The whole school seems to be in like a really hopeful and positive mood for the new year. And I think the relationships between the students is really good, especially like senior, freshmen, and in between them. And especially, Devin and I are seniors. We are a little stressed and prepping, and we are excited to make our last year an awesome one. And then speaking of prepping, I wrote that down too. I got the transition, it's really good. Our senior college planning night was last night at THS, and our guidance counselors came and they gave a lot of advice. They showed us where we should be right now in the college process and answered any questions we had. And it was a great way to reassure those of us who were on track and kind of give a little nudge to some of us who may have been more behind. And it was all around great, and it was informative, and there's going to be follow-up ones too, especially on financial aid and kind of closer to the college application deadlines. And then also last night at THS, we had our open house, and we had a lot of parents come and have a little mini glance at their child's schedule. It was a great opportunity for teachers and parents to meet, and for parents to gain a little more insight into their students' life at the school. And the first of the year for senior activities is actually going to be a fundraiser. On Sunday, September 23rd, we're going to be having a car wash at Advanced Auto Parts on Route 6 to benefit the class of 2019. And we strongly encourage everyone to stop by from 10 to 2 for a wash and support the class. That's my spiel.
Hi, I'm Taylor. I'm a junior, and I'm secretary. This is my first meeting. I've never done this sort of thing before, but I'm incredibly involved in the school, and I work hard all the time. Like Diana said, I'm also kind of into everything. But I have a more serious topic than what she mentioned. I'm going to be talking about suicide prevention. As a community, the student body is hoping to shed light on the topic, the seriousness of it, and most importantly, the prevention of it. The topic is one of sensitive light and one that we hope to bring forth kindly, respectively, and responsibly. This week is Suicide Prevention Week, and it's a national recognition for the prevention of suicide. Though this year Terryville High School is trying to make change quickly and effectively with the Suicide Prevention Walk on October 14th. All donations made from this walk go towards the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, and this is a movement not only for our school, but also for all around. This recognition and student perspective will hopefully make adolescent and adult alike understand the true importance of prevention. And then, on a lighter note, on tomorrow, the 13th, Terryville High School is going to have a club fair. This is basically going to highlight all of our different clubs and all that jazz, and basically encourage freshmen and new students to join clubs that they didn't even know existed, because we have a lot of clubs at the school that many people don't even know are there. I'm in a few of them. And it's just to make students feel more welcome and feel like they have a place when they feel like they don't. And then on September 23rd, for the band and the color guard, they're going to the Mum Parade to, go and march. And it's the first performance for the marching band and the color guard. It's really important to Mr. Keene, and it's also important to the marching band because it really sets them up for the rest of the year. That's all I got.
I'm Devin. I'm a senior, and there's a little bit of a trend. I'm also kind of involved in everything. And something would be the fair. And we had a couple weekends ago. And we had 3 new booths, which turned out to be really successful and really helpful. And they were brought by Trey Belanger, which was his Eagle Scout project. And we are very excited to use them for our upcoming fall sports as concession stands. These couple weeks have been a little tough getting candy out in the 90-degree weather. Speaking of fall sports, the volleyball had a game against Gilbert this past week, which they won. They have won both of their games so far. And then cross country had the Blue Dragon Invitational in Middletown, I believe. And it actually got shortened to 2.9 miles instead of the normal 5K 3.1 mile race because of just a mild problem on the course. But all of our boys and one of our actually freshman girls did very well. Connor Garrity got 23rd, Colby Brown got 11th, Chris DeForest got 2nd, CJ got 20th, and Katie DeForest got 18th. And then our soccer games this past week have both been against Nonawag. Girls lost 0-3 and boys lost 0-1. And for bingo, there will be a bingo night at Terryville High School in the CAF on September 28th at 6 p.m. to fundraise for the upcoming trip to Italy during spring break.
Great. Anybody have any questions or comments for the girls? Jared?
I just have one comment about Diana Ironimo. As most of you know, last board meetings, which was last school year, she was nominated by the Connecticut districts for Leo of the Year. Okay. Well, Mrs. Ironimo has been chosen by International as International Leo of the Year. So she will. This is our second one from Terryville High School. Our first one was Katie Gudashowskis, and now we have Diana Ironimo. She will be recognized at the Midwinter Conference in February, which will be at the Red Lion Inn. Her and her parents will be invited to lunch, and she will get her award then. Congratulations, Diana.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, anything else? All right, moving on. So first public comment, 3 minutes. State your name and address.
Hi, I'm Jenna Downs, 24 North Street in Plymouth. So I just wanted to speak or ask and talk to you about really briefly class size. So I have a first grader in the center. I'm not an education expert, but I wanted to be informed before I came to speak to you. So I did a little bit of research and found that class size is pretty much a very hot topic. But what I did find to be a common theme is that most positive outcomes are found when you decrease class size in that K-3 age range. So there's currently 26 students in his class. He does do very well, but as an advocate for the kids in his class, not just him, I kind of was wondering what your thoughts were on that, if you had any plans to address the size. I have a hard time dealing with 2 kids. I can't imagine a classroom of 26. So that's all.
I can say that when we put our budget together last year, the numbers were far smaller. And given the fact that we've been having difficulty with budgets getting passed, we brought a $22,000 increase to the town council, and they cut us by $175,000. So we're working with very tight margins at this point. So our class sizes are going up. We actually have class sizes at the middle school that are larger than we'd prefer. But this summer was a bit of an anomaly also because in grade 1 and grade 2, it seems like the people who moved into the Plymouth Center side of town had first and second graders, because the second grade went from 22 children to 27, and the first grade classes all added a few students too. So unexpectedly that had occurred. So we have been watching the numbers, and there is oftentimes each year at the beginning of the year movement. And so it was possible that there could be some kids that would potentially move out. So we wanted to make sure before we did anything too quickly that we wanted to pay attention to the numbers. I will say that tonight at the Finance and Operations Subcommittee meeting, which occurs at 6 o'clock in the evening, we discussed this very topic, and there'll actually be a motion coming from subcommittee later talking about adding a tutor position to Plymouth Center School in order to provide additional support to the teachers there. Currently, the building principal has has tutors who she's using to deploy to go into the building into those classrooms at critical times. Plus the math coach and the literacy coach are going in there to support the larger classes. So it's not just the teacher with the students. It is larger than we'd prefer, for sure. But we believe if this particular motion gets passed by the Board of Education, it would add that incremental level of support. It would add more support to the teachers. So the teacher might do a mini lesson in Reader's Workshop, and then the tutor would be there to take maybe 6 or 7 of the kids, and then the teacher would work with the other 20 students, so there would be that kind of smaller ratio. We want to see how this will work before we make any other additional changes, because our budget is so tight. We really, in order to add a teacher right now, we just don't have the funds. And with the potential, you never know in September what's going to happen the rest of the year with weather, with building maintenance, things like that. So you have to be careful not to overdo it and then find out that you end up in a bad situation, because the Board of Education cannot overspend their budget. There is actually a state statute that says they can't. So we have to be very careful, and it's only been, how many days of school? So we just have to be careful about that. But we have been paying attention to it, and we think, at least through the Finance and Operations Committee, adding a tutor that will support those 3 teachers adds that next layer of support. Will it be perfect? Will it solve all problems? Maybe not. But we do want to offer that increment and pay attention to it. And then potentially come back and maybe we need more. Or maybe it's working out great. So that's where we stand right now. So there'll be, not too long from now, the potential for that to come up and have that further discussion. So I hope that answers your question.
So, just knowing that there's a plan and that it's in your foresight,
Yeah.
it's very reassuring.
Okay.
It will be 2 agenda items from now if you want to stay and listen to what we're doing. Okay. Thank you for your comments. Any other comments? Going once, going twice. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Karen? Cindy? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Okay, new business. Okay, the first one will be, in your packet is the Board of Education meeting dates. Did everybody get those? Okay, can I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Dick? Cindy, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, moving on. The CABE Award. Okay, so we are up for an award at CABE, but I actually need you guys to approve that we actually can apply for it. So can I have a motion for the submission of the packet of information on behalf of Plymouth Education to CABE, Connecticut Association of Board of Education Recognition Award?
So moved.
Karen? Cindy, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Moving on to the Board of Education and district goals. Everybody had those in your packet?
Yeah, you've had a chance to take a look at the goals that were created. These were goals that were, and I've said this before because we use the same process each year, but these are goals that are developed with my administrative team. We work with them, and our goal is to try to be consistently developing our school system to make it better and better each year, given the funds that we're able to get from the town to do such a thing. So the goals are centered around 4 major topics. Safety is the first one, social emotional learning, and then of course curriculum, what we teach the kids, and instruction. And then there's sub-goals, as you know, in underneath all of those items that lay out the specifics of what we're planning on doing this year related to that. In addition, there's what we call secondary goals, and those secondary goals are items that don't really fit under the primary goals. And those are things like doing our facility study that we've been talking about doing, looking at how the 4 buildings are being used and enrollment, looking at our pre-K program because we have to get NIAC accreditation through the SMART, since we're We accepted the Smart Start funds for the full-day pre-K. Items like that. So you've had a chance to respond to these for the last couple of weeks, so they should be familiar to you. One thing just for the public to know is once these are approved, we also put them on our website so people can look very specifically at what those goals state. So we put them there, and then after the mid-year, I provide a mid-year update and a final end-of-the-year update. I also post that online so parents can see how the goals have transpired through the year. So in that way, we're being very communicative with our parents and community. We also let everybody know how the progress is going along those goals. So if there's not any additional questions, because I haven't received any over the last week, I would entertain the motion to adopt the 18-19 goals as presented.
So moved.
Karen? Second? Dick? Are you seconding? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, those are, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, board member and committee reports. The first one we'll come to is finance and operations. Karen?
Yes, the Finance Operations Subcommittee met prior to the board meeting. The subcommittee reviewed the accounts by facility report for the month of August 2018. This report will be forwarded to the Town of Plymouth Board of Finance. And also, upon recommendation from the Finance Operations Subcommittee, we would like to bring forward a motion to the full board to hire 2 tutors, one at Harry S. Fisher and one at Plymouth Center School to support the educational needs of teachers and students.
Coming from committee, it does not need a second. We'll go right into discussion. Jerry?
I just have one concern, because now we try to be proactive as a board, but now we're being reactive because of decisions that we made because the state cut us $1.4 million, and we had to cut staff. If you noticed, Jen was talking about the literacy scores. Some of ours went down because we got rid of 3 literacy coaches. So now we have an issue at Plymouth Center where now we have, as the young lady explained, we have class sizes that are relatively large. And I do believe it was stated in the meeting too that I guess Eli Terry, the 7th grade class, is up to what, 170 kids?
140.
Oh, 140. So now they have issues there where they have 30 kids in the school system. And, you know, because of the budget, you know, we helped the town out and gave back $1.1 million. You know, and now we're finding ourselves between a rock and a hard place. You know, because of decisions that we had to make in order to help the town out tax-wise. Because otherwise, if we didn't give that money back, our taxes would have been higher than what they are now. People have to understand that. So I don't want to find out that 3 months from now we have to be in the reactionary area again, that we didn't add enough money. You know, do we really technically need maybe 2 tutors at Plymouth Center and 1 tutor at Fisher? You know, if we do need that, then we should vote on that tonight. You know, we should try to nip this in the bud as quickly as we can, not 3 months down the road and try to ascertain that we should add another, you know, another tutor. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know how everyone else feels in the board, but that's some of the reasons, ma'am, and hopefully that answers, you know, your question. Is a lot of this had to do with what the state cut us. That $1.4 million really killed us. And speaking from the board, not that I was even, actually for myself, I was not particularly happy giving back $1.1 million back to the town, but financially we had to do it.
Anybody else have a question or comment? Okay. I'm going to call for the vote.
I'll make the motion.
Well, it's already been
It's
made.
already-
Yes.
So I'm going to do a roll call vote. All right. Josiah?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Jerry?
No, for
Dick?
reasons I stated.
Yes.
The ayes have it. There will be 2 tutors, one added to Plymouth Center School and one at Harry S. Fisher.
And just so you know, what we'll do is we'll post those positions as early as tomorrow. And what we'll do is we'll actually put in there that we're preferring someone who's has certification. Doesn't have to have certification, so it could be someone who is a certified teacher, but they'd be accepting a tutor position.
Excellent experience.
Yeah, it's an excellent experience. You're right, and gives somebody a chance to get their foot in the door.
Absolutely.
So I would expect high-quality people will be filling those positions, so thank you.
All right, Michelle is not here. Who's our vice chair for Ms. Pat?
Student achievement?
Student achievement.
I can do it.
You can? Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
So that's okay. My chair and my vice chair both.
Oh, they're both out. Okay.
So the first meeting of the Student Achievement Committee will take place on September 27th, 2018 at 6:30 in the conference room at Central Office. The committee will be reviewing suggested textbooks for Foods 1, 2, and Vocational Foods, and these textbooks are currently available for review in Central Office.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right, since Melissa's not here, Dr. Semble's going to take negotiations update.
Yep, negotiations, we've begun negotiating with the Administrators Association, and I would expect that we'll bring a potential new contract to vote on next month.
Any questions? Comments? Okay. Moving on to the second public comment, 3 minutes. You can state your name and address. Give you a chance. You good? Okay, we'll move on since that's all we have. So I'm going to assume that mostly these are going to be quick because we didn't have any PTA meetings. But does anybody have any report from any of the PTOs yet?
I can do mine.
Well, of course. This is Eli.
I'll do Booster and Eli.
Okay.
So I'll start with the middle school. So we started off with photo day the first week of school. They had back to school dance party, which was really good. And on the first day, our brand new mascot was able to greet all of the kids when they got off the bus. So they were kind of like looking at the mascot, like who's in there? They were really wanting to know who's in there. But he or she was really cute and high-fived everyone and was jumping up and down, but was very sweaty. But so they started off. The first fundraiser is going to be going out on October 2nd. It's the braided pie. It's the pies and braided breads, and the delivery for that will be on November 7th. So it's going to be just close enough to Thanksgiving time. And that's it for the middle school. And then for the Booster Club, we have the lemonade booth at the Terryville Fair, which did really, really, really good this year. And all of the kids were amazing. Like, they had such a good system down. They did a really good job. I think they all had a lot of fun with it. They did a really good job. For December, we're going to be doing a calendar giveaway. So there's a giveaway for every day in December. There's a couple of like Christmas tree farms. There's like Dunkin' Donut gift certificates and stuff like that. So it sounds like it's a really fun fundraiser. They've been doing it for several years. So there's going to be 31 prizes given away for the month of December that we're working on now. So. And we need more people. Soccer JV needs more people, and cross country needs more people. So the coaches are still taking children if they want to participate in any of the sports. So any children that might have been like a little nervous if they can't make it, the JV teams and stuff, they really, really need people to join.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
I'll just talk about when the meeting's going to be.
Okay, go ahead.
So Terryville High School's PTSA meets tomorrow night at 6:30 right here at Terryville High School. So anyone who's looking to get involved, especially senior parents, because the PTSA also is the after-grad party committee. So encourage those senior parents to come on out and spend the evening here with us at 6:30, my third night in a row here at Terryville High School.
Yay. I will just say real quick, because usually Dick reports, but SEPTA is actually just starting next month, so I'll get all that information out to you. And that's our special education PTA. But if you, as board members, if you don't have your contact information or the meeting dates, please check with Ms. Pat. She will get that all. And next month we should have reports from everybody. So thank you. Next is board comments. Does anybody have a comment they would like to make before I do my final?
I'd like to welcome our new students and just
And welcome back, Diana. And I really look forward to your presentations. If they're like tonight, they're going to be fantastic. You guys did a great job, and I love the difference in information that you brought to us. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. I agree with that. So she thanked you, so just so ditto. You stole my thunder. Dick, did you have something you'd like to say?
Just something I mentioned to Pat earlier this evening. It's hard for us to see the screen.
Yeah.
And it's hard for us to hear, maybe just me, I don't know, but it's the presentation, whether the podium could be moved closer or the mic system be enhanced in some such way. I'm old.
Actually, I have an idea. You could switch me and him.
I couldn't read it either.
Yeah, I couldn't read it.
You could switch
either.
me with all three of them.
So we'll have Josiah here and everybody else over there. Okay. We'll figure it out, right, Connor? All right. We'll just give it to Connor. He'll figure it out. You're welcome.
Would it be like dimming a light that would help, or it's just?
No,
like
it's
that?
just.
No, you just
small.
you couldn't see. It was just so
It's a little
small.
far away.
I can't.
don't know
I couldn't
what's
read
the
a
best
single
way to
word
do
up
it.
there.
Okay.
And I'm 6.
It would have been nice if we had a printout to follow it.
Yeah, I agree. That's
It was
something
a
we
quick
should have
one.
done.
Good idea.
Actually, I'd like it better.
All right.
Yeah, it was a lot of pages there, but yeah, we'll make sure you guys have copies of that. So at least it's in front of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, so I just want to say thanks, Jen, for this aspect. I know it was a quick one because it kind of came up on you, so thank you for doing that, and thanks for coming from your child's open house. Welcome to the new staff again, and congratulations, Diana. We're so proud of you. Very, very proud. And actually, that's all I have, so we are going to be out of here very quickly tonight. So next board meeting is here at Terryville High School, October 10th at 7 o'clock. It is a big night, so you should be watching on the 10th, by the way. We have something special going on. And so I like a motion to adjourn at 8:15.
So moved.
Karen?
Second.
Cindy, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, I will see you all next month.
Actually, I don't know.